Cheetah Magic.
Genocide is not a meme. It's not a trend. It's not a game. Not pose for clout. Not job for fame. So when abapfobya genocide babikoreye ku mbuga nkoranyambaga, arise. Let our truth be our comment and let wisdom reply.
Turibuka ku nshuro ya 32 jenoside yakorewe abatutsi, twibuke twiyubaka.
Turkey and Rwanda enjoy excellent relations, built on mutual respect, friendship, and growing cooperation. His Excellency President Paul Kagame's official visit to Turkey on 22nd and 26th January 2025 represented the first official visit from Rwanda at the presidential level to our country. Now we are looking forward to hosting Foreign Minister Olivier Jean-Patrick Nduhungirehe this month in the 5th edition of Antalya Diplomacy Forum next week.
Reka tubasuhuze kandi tubifurize kumererwa neza mwebwe mwese mukomeje gukurikira Cheetah Magic. Abadukurikiye baba mu Rwanda n'ababa hanze y'u Rwanda. Kuri uyu munsi tariki ya 7 Mata 2026 turi Ankara, mu mujyi wa Ankara mu gihugu cya Turkiya. Abanyarwanda n'inshuti z'u Rwanda twaje kwibuka ku nshuro ya 32 jenoside yakorewe abatutsi. Hari gahunda zitandukanye ziteganyijwe kuri uyu munsi zirimo ubuhamya, indirimbo, harimo ndetse n'ijambo ry'abashyitsi barimo ambasaderi w'u Rwanda hano muri Turkiya. Nagira ngo dukurikire iki gikorwa mu buryo burambuye, ari icyo nacyo gikorwa ngira ngo muraza kubona ko ibihugu bifitanye umubano n'u Rwanda cyangwa se ibihugu bifite ibikorwa hano muri Ankara, muri Turkiya cyangwa Istanbul no mu bindi bice bitandukanye bya Turkiya bitabiriye uyu munsi iki gikorwa, haba mu nzego z'umutekano ndetse no mu nzego z'ubuyobozi ndetse n'abaturage basanzwe. Ukaba ari tariki ya 7 Mata, itariki yo gutangiza icyumweru cyo kwibuka ndetse no gutangiza iminsi 100 yo kwibuka. Reka tubareke kurikira iki gikorwa. Nitwa Julius Cheetah Niyitegeka. Kwibuka ku nshuro ya 32 jenoside yakorewe abatutsi mu 1994. Kwibuka twiyubaka. Remember, unite, renew.
Time we sang one song. We danced one dance. We got along. Once upon a time, we intertwined, we wined and dined. We were just fine. Yes, we were just fine. But when unwanted guests joined our fest and changed our beat, our feet got lost in a rhythm of extreme divisionism, and suddenly we misunderstood the meaning of patriotism. And when that happened, forever mourn those who were torn away from us. We lost so much when we forgot to trust in us. We lost when we forgot, which is why we are here. We are here to remember, and we must remember. We must remember the dear lives lost and what that costed us as a nation. We must remember that division, it leads to doom. And we must remember that unity, it leads to bloom. Yes, unity leads to bloom. So beware of even the harsh conversation that happen in the comfort of your living rooms. We must remember to tell the whole story of our history without leaving holes of hate in the ears of those that hear us. We must remember to fight the ideas of segregation and focus on unity to better build our nation. We must remember to be the defenders of our values and not the offenders. Because together can never again truly be never again. And so we must remember that we lost when we forgot that we sang one song. We must remember that we forgot and lost that we danced one dance. We must remember that we forgot and we lost. We really lost. We lost when we forgot that we intertwined, we dined, we wined, and we were just fine. We must remember that we lost when we forgot that we were one people and that we had the power to do good instead of evil. Which is why we must remember, and not just in April, but from December to December. And so today the battlefield, sometimes it hides behind the screen. Not in the hills, yes, not in the hills, but where the comments are seen. A post, a joke, a careless line, it can make painful memories resurface. Some chase likes and call hatred fun, forgetting where such dangerous words have truly begun from. Genocide is not a meme, it's not a trend, it's not a game, not pose for clout, not joke for fame. So when abapfobya jenoside babikoreye ku mbuga nkoranyambaga, arise, let our truth be our comment and let wisdom reply. We must remember that our randomness is who we are at our best, and any less, it leads to a mess. We must remember not to forget, lest we neglect the lessons so harshly learned. We must remember not to forget that we lost when we forgot. Twibagiwe, twakongera gutsindwa. Rero dukomeze twibuke, dukorere ejo hazaza heza. Banyarwanda mwese muri hano, hirya no hino, mukomere muhumure, ndabakunda cyane. Murakoze.
Thank you, Nancy. May I now request Mr. Paulo Malchi, representing the United Nations, to deliver his remarks. Please welcome to the stage.
Şimdi Birleşmiş Milletler temsilen Sayın Paulo Malchi konuşmalarını yapmak üzere davet ediyorum.
His Excellency's Ambassador representing the government of Turkey, His Excellency Ambassador of Rwanda, to relay and to read for you the message of the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres for today. 30 years ago, Rwanda endured one of the darkest chapters in human history. In just 100 days, more than 1 million people were murdered, primarily Tutsi, but also Hutu and others who opposed the genocide. Entire families were brutally erased. On the International Day of Reflection on the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, we mourn the victims and honor their stolen dignity. We pay tribute to the survivors, whose resilience shows the strength of the human spirit. And we recall, with humility and shame, the international community's failures to heed warnings and take immediate life-saving action. It's not enough to remember the dead. We must learn from past failures and protect the living by rejecting hatred, inflammatory rhetoric, and incitement to violence, by investing in the social fabrics to deepen community resilience, and by strengthening institutions that help prevent mass atrocities. I call on all countries to become parties to the Genocide Convention without delay and to implement it fully. The United Nations stands with the people of Rwanda, and we stand with all those everywhere who refuse to surrender our future to fear, division, or silence. Let this day reaffirm our commitment to remember, to listen, and to act, with history as our guide and the prevention of genocide as our goal.
Next on our program, we are honored to have our guest of honor, Ambassador Volkan Işıkçı, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the Republic of Turkey. Your Excellency, you're welcome to the remarks.
Şimdi Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Dışişleri Bakanlığı'nı temsilen onu konuğumuz Sayın Büyükelçi Volkan Işıkçı'yı konuşmalarını yapmak üzere davet ediyoruz.
Thank you very much. After this impressive testimony, it's so difficult to say some words, but I will try to share our points of view and our feelings with Rwanda's colleagues and the ambassador. Thank you very much for inviting us. As every year we are trying to share your feelings in that sense for horrible genocide perpetrated in Rwanda. His Excellency Charles Kaying, Ambassador of the Republic of Rwanda, esteemed members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Turkish government, people, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic, I join you today in commemorating the 32nd anniversary of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Today we commemorate, remember, and honor more than 1 million people who were brutally and systematically murdered in order to annihilate a community based solely on their ethnicity. We extend our heartfelt condolences to the survivors and the families of the victims, as well as to the people and government of the Republic of Rwanda. As much as we honor the memories of victims, it's equally important that the perpetrators are brought to justice to show the world that there is no impunity for this heinous act, so that such heinous crimes will never happen again. Honorable participants, in Rwanda, decades of hate speech and dehumanization led to unspeakable violence. Tragically, we continue to witness similar patterns in different parts of the world today. The international community must stand united against such practices in all its forms and manifestations. We must raise our voice against incitement and work together to prevent the repetition of such tragedies. It's a shame for all humanity that, despite our collective promises of never again, such horrors continue to unfold in Gaza and elsewhere in the world. Distinguished participants, in the aftermath of the genocide, Rwanda has succeeded in reconciliation and reconstruction. It has managed to emerge as a country rebuilt through courage, strength, and hope, which has been very difficult after such dark days of the past. Therefore, we appreciate the remarkable strength and resilience of the Rwandan people. We commend the efforts of the Rwandan authorities in rebuilding their nation and seeking justice for the victims. Under the leadership of the President Paul Kagame, Rwanda has become a symbol of resilience and progress, offering a bright and promising future for its younger generations. As a country committed to fighting hatred, injustice, and discrimination, Turkey will continue to support Rwanda and its people on this path of healing and development. Each year, our ministry issues a statement in remembrance of the victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis, as we did today. In this spirit, Turkey co-sponsored the UN General Assembly resolution establishing the International Day of Reflection on the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Distinguished participants, Turkey and Rwanda enjoy excellent relations, built on mutual respect, friendship, and growing cooperation. Since the establishment of the diplomatic relation in 1976 and the opening of our respective embassies in 2013 and 2014, our ties have continued to deepen. His Excellency President Paul Kagame's official visit to Turkey on 22nd and 26th January 2025 represented the first official visit from Rwanda at the presidential level to our country. Now we are looking forward to hosting Foreign Minister Olivier Jean-Patrick Nduhungirehe this month in the 5th edition of our Antalya Diplomacy Forum next week. We will continue to work tirelessly with our Rwandan friends to deepen our bilateral relations in all fields possible to the benefit of both Turkish and Rwandan people. I also take this opportunity to express our satisfaction with the level of ongoing cooperation with Ambassador Charles Kayonga and his embassy. Dear participants, on this solemn occasion, once again we extend our heartfelt condolences to the Republic of Rwanda and reaffirm our strong commitment to stand against the violations of international humanitarian law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. We will now have Ambassador Charles Kayonga to deliver his keynote address for this 32nd commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Şimdi Ruanda'nın Türkiye Büyükelçisi Sayın Charles Kayonga'nın konuşmalarını dinleyeceğiz.
Thank you very much. I'd like first of all to thank the genocide survivor who just gave us his experience. Mr. Gustav, thank you very much. This was really emotional. Your Excellency, Ambassador Volka, representing the government of the Republic of Turkey, Excellencies, colleagues, ambassadors, distinguished invited guests, Rwanda community members, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to each of you for joining the Embassy of the Republic of Rwanda and Rwanda community today as we gather in solemn remembrance of the genocide against the Tutsi, now for the 32nd time. Our ongoing theme is Remember, Unite, Renew, which calls us to honor the victims, stand in solidarity with survivors, and pay tribute to those who acted with courage to bring the genocide to an end. This occasion reminds us of our enduring responsibility to uphold remembrance, advance education, and strengthen the collective commitment to the prevention of genocide. As we continue to reflect on the genocide against the Tutsi, we are equally reminded of the urgent need to confront genocide denial and revisionism, the forces that seek to distort history, erode truth, and weaken accountability. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, genocide is among the gravest crimes under international law. It consists of deliberate and systematic acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. This is what happened in Rwanda beginning on 7th April 1994. On that infamous day, the government, using its armed forces and extremist militia, launched a well-planned and coordinated campaign of exterminating the Tutsi. In just 100 days, more than 1 million people were killed. But as we have heard from the genocide survivor, the genocide did not begin in April 1994. April 1994 was rather the tragic and inevitable culmination of decades of division, discrimination, and the systematic dehumanization of the Tutsi. The roots of the genocide against the Tutsi are traceable to colonial-era policies that institutionalized division, distorted identities, and eroded social fabric of Rwandan society. These divisions were further entrenched by political bankrupt post-independent leaders through discriminatory practices and recurring waves of violence. The history of the genocide against the Tutsi has been well documented. From as early as the late 1950s, Tutsis were subjected to repeated pogroms, exclusion, and persecution. Up until 1973, thousands were killed and thousands more were forced into exile to surrounding countries as an apartheid-like system took root in Rwanda. By the early 1990s, the conditions for catastrophe had been firmly established. Therefore, in April 1994, when the genocide was unleashed, it was executed with chilling efficiency. Across the country, violence was carried out with coordination and brutality. Men, women, and children were targeted simply because of who they were. Even neighbors turned against neighbors as hate, propaganda, and extremist ideology fueled collective participation. As we have heard once again, Rwandans will never forget the infamous LTLM, or the radio known as Thousand Hills Radio, for its role in genocide, providing information about victims and animating the killers. Sexual violence was used as a weapon against women and sometimes men. Women were subjected to unimaginable, horrific mistreatment that exposes the absolute inhumanity of the killers. This ranged from group rape with aim to infect them with deadly HIV, AIDS. The pregnant wombs were slit open, alleged to see the sex of the unborn, and mothers were often forced to watch their infants pounded in pesos, all smashed against walls. This horror went on for 100 days. And yet, even as these killings unfolded in broad daylight and on public media, they were denied, minimized, or mischaracterized as chaos, conflict, as anything but a genocide. At the United Nations, debates went on endlessly. The international community, despite warnings and clear evidence, failed to act. It failed to name the crime as it was, genocide, and failed to stop it. History will forever bear witness to that failure. The genocide was brought to an end in July 1994, when the Rwanda Patriotic Front, under the leadership of His Excellency Paul Kagame, defeated the genocide forces. Unfortunately, total defeat of these criminals was prevented when the United Nations authorized the deployment of Operation Turquoise to Rwanda in June 1994. This operation allowed the defeated forces safe passage to the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where another genocide targeting the Tutsis of that region would soon unfold. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, after the genocide was stopped in July 1994, our country stood at the edge of an abyss. Our country was devastated, our people were traumatized, and institutions had collapsed. Trust had been destroyed. At that defining moment, Rwanda faced a fundamental choice: to pursue revenge or to choose a different path. Our leaders, guided by the lessons of our history, the resilience of our people, chose unity, reconciliation, and nation building. On July 19th, 1994, the Government of National Unity was established, bringing together a coalition of political forces under a shared vision to rebuild Rwanda as one nation. The challenge was immense. How do you restore trust among people who have experienced such profound violence? How do you deliver justice while fostering reconciliation? How do you rebuild a country made up of the wounded, the bereaved, the killers, and the displaced? The answer lay in strong political will, inclusive governance, and homegrown solutions rooted in our traditional culture. From the very beginning, steps were taken to restore unity. Ethnic identity cards were abolished. The narrative of division was rejected. Rwandans were encouraged to see themselves not as separate groups, the Hutus, the Tutsis, the Twas, but as one people, Rwandans. In an extraordinary act of rebuilding, soldiers of the previous national army who had no role in the genocide were integrated into the new national army, alongside the forces that had stopped the genocide. This was not just a security measure. It was a powerful statement of reconciliation and shared future. Millions of refugees returned home. Internally displaced persons were settled. Security was restored despite continuing threats from genocidal forces operating beyond our borders. At that same time, the new government initiated nationwide consultations at the grassroots and national levels, bringing citizens together to reflect on the past and to define a collective vision for the future. This process led to the establishment of the National Reconciliation Commission in 1999, tasked with fostering dialogue, healing, and social cohesion. Justice, too, had to be reimagined. Conventional systems alone could not handle the scale of crimes committed. In response, Rwanda revived a traditional mechanism called the Gacaca courts. Established in 2002, Gacaca was a community-based justice system that allowed truth-telling, accountability, and reconciliation to take place at the local grassroots level. Over a decade, more than 2 million cases were tried. Perpetrators confessed, providing critical information on the crime and the criminals. Survivors spoke out, and communities began the long process of healing. Unity and reconciliation were further enshrined in Rwanda's 2003 constitution, which emphasizes inclusiveness, power sharing, and constant pursuit of solutions through dialogue and consensus. Today, Rwanda stands as a testament to what is possible when a nation chooses to confront its past with honesty and courage. 32 years after the genocide against the Tutsi, Rwanda has moved on to become one of the most promising countries on the continent of Africa. In the context of reconciliation and coexistence, survivors and perpetrators live side by side in many communities. Under the leadership of our President, His Excellency Paul Kagame, the Rwanda Patriotic Front has unified the earlier fractured country, institutionalized unity and reconciliation, and built a accountable governance system. On the economic side, the past 2 decades have recorded sustained economic growth, averaging around 7% to 8% annually, significantly reducing poverty levels and heavy investment in human capital and institutional reforms. Today, Rwanda ranks among the safest countries in Africa and is globally recognized for its governance, reforms, and gender equality. Our women parliamentarians hold over 60% of parliamentary seats, the highest in the world. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, despite this progress, challenges to peace and security in the region remain. Rwanda continues to express concern over the presence in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, of the armed group responsible for the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. After fleeing to Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in 1994, they set upon killing the Tutsis of that region, expelling others, and they have since settled and integrated themselves among the local communities. These elements, which call themselves FDLR, or Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, have taken advantage of the weak state structures and the demographic characteristics of the Eastern DRC to embed themselves and hijack local community structures. This has exposed the Congolese population to the hate and genocide ideology espoused by these elements. Rwanda views the presence of the genocidal perpetrators in Eastern DRC as the most serious factor responsible for the insecurity prevailing in the region. Their declared objective to retake power in Rwanda and to resume the genocide against the Tutsi has led our country to institute defensive measures along the border with the DRC to ensure that they are barred from causing insecurity to spill over our common border. These defensive measures have been made even more urgent and important by the overt support these groups have been receiving from the government in Kinshasa. But Rwanda deplores the prevailing conflict situation and supports fully the peace process underway to resolve the security situation in this region. Our country is fully aligned with the African Union and with regional bodies like the East African Community, the Southern African Development Community in their relentless pursuit of the political solution to the conflict. Moreover, Rwanda also supports the intervention of partners like the United States and Qatar, which have given the quest for peace more urgency. This intervention has led to the conclusion of the Washington Accords that were signed between Rwanda and DRC in Washington, D.C. on 4th December 2025. Rwanda believes that the successful neutralization of the genocidal forces in DRC will pave the way for the establishment of the long-sought peace and stability and development in the Great Lakes region. But to achieve this measure, political will be imperative. In conclusion, As we commemorate the 32nd anniversary of the genocide against the Tutsi, let us reaffirm our collective responsibility to preserve the truth, reject denial, and confront hatred, wherever it arises. May this day serve not only as a moment of remembrance, but also as a renewed call to action, a call to build societies grounded in dignity, justice, and our shared humanity. Let us ensure that the words "never again" are upheld, not only in memory, but in practice. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Cheetah Magic.